major of exploratory.
Awesome. Let me share my screen and I will play here. Well, yes, I'm so excited to have an opportunity to talk to students about pathways to engineering, one of them being exploratory studies. I have had the privilege of being at Purdue for over 4 years now, and had the opportunity to talk to students about pathways into Purdue. And I think one that often gets overlooked is the Exploratory Studies program. We are a program that is geared towards working with undecided students, or students who maybe aren't ready to commit to a major yet. And we've got a few that are on the call who will be able to participate in the conversation. But I'm going to get started and kind of breaking down some of the basics to exploratory studies. And I'm going to try to keep this at around 10 to 15 minutes. So, why should students start in exploratory studies? What is the purpose, or what benefit would there be to starting in a program without a major, right? Coming into an institution the size of Purdue and to not be in a declared major yet. We believe that we are a gateway to Purdue for beginning students. So we allow students to start off in this program. Ironically enough, we're the third largest incoming freshman class, so there's lots of students who don't necessarily know exactly what they want to study right away, and that's totally okay. We bring in around 11 to 1,200 students a year, so we're right behind the College of Engineering and the College of Science, but we're a gateway to Purdue for these beginning students. We're not a back door into this institution. Our students are just as academically qualified as anyone else. We'll get to that, but we believe that we have a proactive approach to good decision making. Some of the things that you may hear me talk about later that our students do are very proactive, right? First semester freshmen who start off in a major might not do some of the things that our students do, because our students are proactive and they're trying to get all the information they can to make a solid decision on what it is that they might want to study. We offer the opportunity to explore these major and career options while still maintaining a 4-year graduation rate. So not slowing you down, allowing you to look at your options, allowing you to look at all of the engineering disciplines that Purdue might has to offer, and then deciding which might be the best fit for you, and getting to that place and still maintaining a 4-year graduation rate. So I know for parents that's a huge deal, that when they think about college, that we're maintaining a 4-year graduation rate, and just because you come in through exploratory studies that you take that path, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be set back. So a few things just to kick us off a little bit about exploratory. As I mentioned, we're a gateway. When it comes to admissions, we function like a college. So yes, you may apply to the College of Engineering for first-year engineering, but you can also apply to exploratory studies as an explorer. Our students typically finish in the upper third of their high school class. They're academically qualified. In comparison with the College of Engineering, we probably aren't as competitive when it comes to some of those traditional admissions factors that you may think about, SAT, ACT, GPA. Of course, Purdue does a holistic review when they look at students, and they look at all the different pieces of information, including the essays, the extracurriculars, the letters of recommendation, which are not required but strongly recommended. But the idea is that our students are just like anyone else, right? They can be successful here at Purdue in any of those majors. But again, from a competitive standpoint, if that's the angle you'd like to look at it, we're not as competitive as Purdue, or I'm sorry, as engineering, and maybe that's why we might be a great pathway into that program. Our students are temporary, right? You cannot graduate with a degree in undecided. I joke with families when I have the opportunity to visit with them, both in person and virtually, that we're a starting place, not a parking place, right? Not a parking spot. So we want you to look at majors and careers and to take the time, right, to relax a little bit and know that it's going to be okay. We're going to find our path here at Purdue, but we're a temporary program, so you don't graduate with a degree in exploratory studies. We want you to stay until you make a decision, right? We want you to feel confident in your decision so that when you decide, okay, I think I want to study computer engineering, that you've put a lot of thought into that and that you know this is the right major for you based off of multitude of factors. So we want you to stay until you make a decision. What does that mean as far as our students are concerned, as far as how long they're with us? Statistically speaking, we see a lot of students leave at the end of freshman year or beginning of sophomore year. We see some big waves at the end of second semester and beginning of third semester. I think many of our students, especially those ones that leave in their third semester, beginning of sophomore year, they use that summer in between, right? The summer between freshman and sophomore year to get a job or an internship, right? In that field that they may want to study. Some of them going home for the summer offers them a little bit more clarity. Maybe they're back with their friends and their family and some mentors that they have back home, and they can have these discussions with some people they know really well, right? And so some clarity is delivered, and then third semester, they're ready to make that switch. Statistically speaking, there are not a ton of students who are with us for a full 4 semesters. We have the full 4 if you need them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to use them. Of course, if you do, no harm, no foul. But specifically, if I'm talking about pathways to engineering, it's pretty important that we get you into engineering, or that you successfully CODO. We'll talk about what that means in a little bit, but that you successfully CODO by the end of second or third semester, especially if we're trying to maintain that 4-year graduation rate. All right, so our students are proactive, right? I mentioned that they're doing things that other freshmen might not be doing. They take a very proactive approach to this. So we know that informed students make better decisions, and we want our students to feel equipped with information so that when they set out to choose a major, to choose a career, they're confident in their decision. We know that at Purdue, around 50% of them of students who start in a major change at least once. That fluctuates from year to year. Many of Purdue switches are intra-college, so maybe a student switches from biology to chemistry or accounting to finance. They're still changing their major, but they're making an intra-college switch. Of course, we do see quite a few students who change their mind, and that's kind of what we're trying to avoid, right? So that's third bullet point, I guess, is 88% of students who began in exploratory studies and graduate do so in their first choice of major. So the first major they leave us for, frankly, the major that they've decided is going to be theirs, is one that they stick with 88% of the time through to graduation. So I think that's a great statistic, and it really goes to show how valuable our program is, and how hard we work to make sure that you are confident in that decision. Our students are actively seeking information, as I mentioned, and because they feel that they have all this information, they're graduating at a similar rate than students who start in a major and stick with the one that they declared, and they're graduating at a better rate than those students who declare and then switch, because they know the courses that they need to take. They've taken the time to map out that plan of study. Our students all are required to take EDPS 105, that stands for Educational Psychology, but it is an academic and career planning course. This is the opportunity for our students to really think about all of the different aspects that play into what majors or careers might be a good fit. So the way I describe this class is a Venn diagram. It's about majors, it's about careers, and it's also about the students themselves and the combination of the three. Think of like a Venn diagram where those 3 areas come together. It's what EDPS 105 is all about. So our students take this course first semester freshman year. We want you to learn about yourself a little bit more by taking personality inventories, some strengths quest type things. Many of you may have done this in high school before, but getting this information, right? Learning a little bit more about you and then applying it to majors and careers. EDPS 105 is arguably the cornerstone of our program. It's what students get the most excited about as far as taking this course and having the opportunity to be surrounded with other students who are looking at majors. And if we're thinking about pathways to engineering, I think about how you could use this class to explore all of the different engineering disciplines here at Purdue, right? There are about 16 or 17 different engineering disciplines. And imagine if you had an entire semester where you can strategically look at each different discipline and think about why your personality might be a good fit in this discipline over another. Or when you navigate the plans of study and you start to look at the differences in those disciplines. Some are going to have a little bit more biology or chemistry or physics or calculus, right? And you can start to think about what might be a good fit based off of what you're interested in. So the class is great. I could talk about it for a full hour. We don't have that much time because I really want you to hear from the students. So I'm gonna move on. But when we think about the academic advisors within exploratory studies, important to note that we have a 1 to 150 student to advisor ratio. It's one of the lowest student to advisor ratios on campus, and that allows our academic advisors to really get to know their students and to build really great connections, learn the likes and dislikes of each student so that when they look at those scheduling, like when they start to schedule courses, they can offer suggestions as, oh, maybe you might want to try this engineering class, or maybe you might want to try this level of physics because you're interested in this. And we know that because we've spent time, we have a lot of time to work with you. All of our students have to come in twice a semester, once for what we call a September check-in, to check in with their advisor, and then another time for that registration appointment. Our hope is to leave those doors open for areas of interest. So if you do have a specific interest or 2 or 3 different interests, we can make sure that the courses you're taking are fulfilling those interests. So, for example, we want to make sure the math class that you're in leaves the College of Engineering open, right, for those different disciplines. All other incoming students, though, as I mentioned, are required to take EDPS 105. So when a student is confident in their decision and they're ready to make that decision, I mentioned this term earlier, CODO. They CODO, change of degree objective. That is the official term at Purdue for moving from major to major. And there are CODO requirements that you can view. You can look at them anytime. I just Google Purdue CODO and those requirements will pop up. The thing to remember is that good grades open doors. So the better your grades, the more opportunity you're going to have to be able to CODO. When I think about the pathways into engineering, there are multiple CODO options into the College of Engineering. Some are very direct, some are space available. So there must be space in the program in order for you to CODO into them. Many of them have direct pathways where you can essentially be in exploratory studies for a full year or maybe 3 semesters and directly CODO to the discipline. There are some in which you must CODO into first year engineering. So again, these are just the basics of exploratory studies and the different pathways into engineering. I'm going to throw this slide up on the screen. This is my contact information. I would love to talk about this in more detail, but that's my contact information. And if you'd like to schedule a virtual appointment with me and maybe some of our exploratory ambassadors who ended up in engineering, I'm happy to do that. You can do that at kpaquin.youcanbook.me. So again, that was just a very brief presentation, kind of those nuts and bolts of the exploratory studies program. But I do know that we're going to open up this conversation with our student ambassadors.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kyle. I'm going to also share my screen here. Yeah, I don't know. I want to first of all introduce to you our very special panelists. We thank the fine folks over at Exploratory Studies in giving us a better understanding of the program, because the exploratory program, the undecided major, is a very, very wonderful opportunity. Very often when the students apply to Purdue, you know, we had there may be 16,000. I think last year we had 19,600 applications, and 10,000 students were able to get in. Very viable alternative is exploratory studies. We each year we do a boot camp, and last year's boot camp group, out of 36 boot campers, 6 of them, and we can talk about what the boot camp is later. I think Josh is on the call. He can explain. But we had 6 of those students, and I think Josh was a counselor with those students. And of those 6 that were in exploratory studies, 4 of them are in their major. They started off their sophomore year in their major. And so at the minority engineering program and exploratory studies, we're going to take care of you. And there's even an opportunity if you're in our learning community, where there's normally a limited number of spaces in the learning community, you can join our learning community and you can take the engineering 132. It's called EPICS, one of the most popular learning communities. By being a part of that, you're not hindered from getting the engineering 131, 132 requirement out of the way. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our students who are going to, first of all, tell us a little bit about your story, about how is it that you came in through exploratory studies, and in maybe 1 or 2 minutes, tell us how you were able to get into your degree of choice. First of all, we have Yamuna, and then we'll have Jessica joining second, followed by Jacob, and then Joshua. And introduce yourself. You tell us about your major, where you're from, and your story, and then we'll move on to a panel in which both Kyle and I will be asking you some questions. In addition to that, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'd love to address those questions.
Thank you so much. My name is Yamuna, and I am a senior in computer engineering. And kind of my story is I'm from India, Chennai. And so my first experience with Purdue was when a recruiter came on and talked about kind of all the wonderful things about Purdue, like the community and all the different disciplines. And then he ended up talking about exploratory studies in the end, where it was a place for students who were really not sure, kind of unsteady about what major they wanted or what kind of discipline they were wanting to choose. And at that point, both my parents are engineers. However, at the same time, I was very hesitant to follow in their same footsteps. Like, I didn't want to emulate them or kind of like be exactly like them just for the sake of being like seeing them in their roles. And I really wanted to explore other options and make sure that engineering was the right choice for me or was kind of like the place for me. And that's how I landed in exploratory studies. And I will say this, that like the tools and all the skills that I learned in exploratory studies from like the first semester all the way to like the connections I made through the program has like, you know, still been like still impacting me today. Like right now I'm like looking for a full-time position, and the tools that I have to actually like research, connect with different people and explore the different options available are still being emulated in a different format in my job search. And that's really, really cool. And the other really interesting like thing or advantage that I thought I had as an exploratory studies student was that I was so much more prepared in terms of what can I expect from my major, what can I expect from my classes, and how are the different opportunities that I can kind of like take advantage of to be a much more proactive student. And I really thank exploratory studies for that. And so it's been a great experience in my major itself in computer engineering. I really loved like the way I made my decision was I love coding and I love technology, but at the same time, I really wanted that physical system kind of experience where I have the ability to code and program and also work with technology, but at the same time, touch something and work with a physical system and put it together. And that's what I found in computer engineering. And that's how I made my decision to be in this program.
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll hear more from her. Jessica?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Babb, and I'm a senior studying environmental and ecological engineering. And I'm from New Jersey. So I chose Purdue because, well, my mom went here, and also my uncle went here as well. So that was kind of like a big factor for me. And then when I came here, I kind of liked the campus, and I also just I wanted to go to a school out of state is also another main reason why I chose Purdue. And then, yeah, I came in like having no idea at all what I wanted to do. So that's why I chose Exploratory. Exploratory actually also played a factor as to why I chose Purdue because other colleges I was looking at didn't have like programs for undecided. So I liked that there was a program that let me kind of explore what I wanted to do. Yeah, and then somehow I ended up on environmental engineering. I think like in EDPS 105, you have like a chance to kind of explore what you might want to do. So I just looked into different things and I decided to look into engineering. I wasn't going to do that at first because I just heard like a lot of I just heard it was very difficult, I would say, from like a lot of first year engineering students that I was friends with. But I was like, okay, let's give it a try anyways. You never know. I'm a smart person. So yeah, so that's kind of how when I did an interview, that's one of the things they make you do in the class with a person who was in environmental and ecological engineering that kind of helped me decide that that's where I wanted to go. Because she kind of made it seem less scary and like more like a tangible thing, like something I could see myself doing. So that actually really helped me. And then, yeah, also talking to like, I think there was another interview I had to do with somebody within industry. So seeing like where I might end up on my career path. So I would say that is kind of what helped like solidify that I was going to choose this path. And then, yeah, once I opened up to the world of engineering, I found other programs like the Minority Engineering Program and NESB. And then I was like, oh, I really like these like opportunities that Purdue offers within engineering. So yeah, that's how I kind of decided on my major.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That brings us to Jacob.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacob Bridgewater. I'm a senior in computer engineering from Greenwood, Indiana. And I chose Purdue because it's always been kind of my dream school since I was in high school. I always knew that I wanted to go to Purdue after seeing the campus when I visited junior year, and then just solidified it when I came and visited the Exploratory Studies program because I was in between computer science and computer engineering. Those were the two majors that were really sticking with me. And I've always enjoyed programming from the computer side, but I also knew that I wanted to maybe try some of the hardware side. Like Yamana said, you get the more physical side of things when it comes to computer engineering. So through EDPS 105, I was actually able to interview someone. Like Jessica said, you do interviews with the upperclassmen in computer engineering. So I actually interviewed someone, an upperclassman in computer engineering, and he told me about the labs that they did, and it actually really interested me. And I actually end up now liking hardware more than I did software. So I'm actually extremely grateful for the EDPS 105 interview because it really helped me find computer engineering. I don't think I would have picked it if I hadn't gone into exploratory studies.
Wow, that's great. Last but not least, Josh Gregory.
Hey everybody, I'm a junior. My name is Joshua Gregory. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a junior in construction engineering and management. And I chose Purdue. Well, when I was in high school, I was a wrestler, so I thought I wanted to do Purdue wrestling. Didn't cut it, and then I ended up going to the MEP summer camp, and that's the minority engineering program called boot camp. And I met a lot of friends there. And well, excuse me, precursor to that, my junior year, I did a summer camp at Purdue through the minority engineering program. And that's what solidified my interest in Purdue and just engineering. And I knew I'd get a job. I went to Purdue and did engineering. So that was the only choice. That was the only school I actually visited was Purdue. And going into exploratory studies, I just didn't have the grades to get into engineering straight off. And honestly, it was the best decision for me. I needed that buffer time from high school to college. I wasn't the best academically, like studying wise, and the EDPS taught me study habits. It taught me how to navigate through all the systems in Purdue. Because you will talk to some people, they don't even know how to make their own schedule without their advisor. And that was the first thing my advisor taught me how to do. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me that honestly, for my personality, I'm more gregarious. It told me that I should go lean towards politician and law and stuff like that. But then my advisor taught me that just because you're leaning that way doesn't mean you have to go that way. You can find a way to incorporate engineering into that, which is what I plan to do. And I didn't even know about construction engineering at all before I met my friends through MEP. And my friend was talking about how it was basically what Jessica said. It's not as bad as what you think it is, and you can do it. And I talked to my advisor, and now I'm in it. I'm actually on a co-op right now. That's why I'm still in my work. It all works out. Oh, and it's cheaper.
Great, great, great. Okay, so now we're going questions. We ask our audience to go ahead, and as they talk, questions will probably come to your mind. Go ahead and put them in the chat. Kyle, our first question.
Yeah, I think you've all kind of touched on this in one shape or form, but I'd like to hear from you again. That EDPS 105, that academic and career planning class, what types of assignments or activities did you do? How did that course aid in your exploration of those engineering disciplines, given that there are so many different engineering disciplines? So how did that aid in your exploration? What types of things did you learn from it? And if you remember the name of the assignment, great. If not, no worries. I teach the class, so I could definitely chime in and say, oh, we did this today. But yeah, whoever wants to go in first.
Okay, well, my favorite one was the Myers-Briggs personality test. That showed me how much just what I was really interested in, because I had all these big lofty ideas, but I didn't know how to put it down. Then they put into the top 10 things that I'd be good at. I think law or something was number one, but engineering wasn't too far down. So that's what I really enjoyed, just helping me explore different avenues, things that I could have the aptitude for.
I think Jessica and Jacob talked about this. I really liked the interviewing a student, and that really gave me the ability to see a senior who was in the major I was considering, to see her experience and to actually like emulate it for myself and say, okay, I can do that, or I can go ahead and, like be successful in this major because I see this in someone that I know closely. It was really cool to also get that connection right off the bat, because a lot of freshmen don't really connect with a lot of seniors or juniors in their like first year. And so, yeah, that's really cool. Like I'm that senior now with, just having the ability to connect with other freshmen. And so it's just been really amazing to kind of like have that connection right off the bat, and also be able to see other clubs that you might be interested in that you wouldn't have known if not for that one person who was like there to like kind of show you what resources are there on Purdue.
Awesome.
And then for me, it's probably going to be the learning how to read the plan of studies, because at least for me in ECE, the advisors have you submit a plan on My Purdue Plan before you meet with them. So you have to know what classes you need to take, because they can help you, but really you're supposed to be the one who figures it out on your own and molds your schedule. So I'm really glad that EDPS taught me how to read plan of studies, because honestly, if I hadn't had that, I would have no clue how to look at plan of studies or know what I need to take. So thankfully I have that, and I can get it done extremely fast, so I can get into the classes that I want.
Good.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say for me, again, the interview was very helpful, but I also I don't know of any specific assignment because it's been so long for me, but just like in general, it just felt like you just had us, do our own research. And I liked how you basically made it seem like we should just be open to everything. Because like if I wasn't open to everything, I really don't think I would have ended up in engineering. So just like doing that, and yeah, I guess just originally I thought I might have gone into like I would say like political science, but it is related to my field. But I don't know. I just like that talking to again like older people, and just seeing that like you're not really just, even if you choose this major, you're not stuck with just doing exactly that. Like there's still even more growth and development that you can do after that, like say going on to get your master's, or if you want to go on to law school, like it's not the end all be all. You could still you could still, I don't know, change your mind a little bit afterwards. So it's nice to know that.
No, I think, I mean, something that we talk about in EDPS 105 is that lifelong exploration, right? Even when you make it into the College of Engineering and you start looking at jobs or internships, open up the amount of opportunity that you have by being a lifelong explorer. And I think everyone touched on this in one way or the other when we think about transitioning from exploratory studies to engineering. All of those activities and assignments that we do in the course in one way or form or one shape or another are trying to get you to think about the whole piece, right? Yes, maybe the strong interest inventory said I should be a politician or a lawyer, but what are those things that a politician or a lawyer do, right? What are those traits that they have, and how could I take that and apply it to the things that I might want to explore, engineering specifically?
That's great. It's important for us all to research ourselves, know ourselves. In a course like this, the EDPS 105 helps you confirm some things. I'd like to ask the panel this question, because the ultimate goal is to transition into a major. And Purdue calls it engineering, we call it transition to major, but everyone will have to codo, as it were, change of objective. So can you guys demystify this process of what is this process, and can you simplify this so that help our students, our entering freshmen, know exactly what this is and what they would need to do in order to reach their goal. There are, with engineering per se, you start in first year engineering. There are some students who start in exploratory and skip right over FYE and go right into their major. And there are some that go into first year engineering. But I'd like for you guys to speak.
Well, for me, I skipped right over FYE because I tried to codo into it too many times and I didn't get it. So then I skipped straight into construction engineering and management, and it worked out. Basically, you just submit, you have to go to your exploratory studies advisor, you talk to them, they let you know the likelihood of you getting in. They're real with you, but they also motivate you at the same time, don't discourage you. And you submit the paper. If you get the grades and you meet the marks, you more than likely will get into FYE. And it's not as hard as you think. You put the work in, you'll get the results.
I would say like for me, like I went from exploratory like at the end of my second semester freshman year, and then like my first semester sophomore year I went into FYE. But yeah, I don't know, somehow I got in, but I didn't meet the requirements. I don't know what happened that year. I might have gotten lucky. So I would just say, just try, even if you don't have the requirements. They might be nice that year, or like they might not have, sometimes they like lower the standards and just let more people in. I don't really know. But yeah, then after that, at the end of my sophomore year, then I went into environmental engineering. So I think FYE is like a full year. So when I finished that, I went into my actual major, which is, I think, is transition to major.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to add?
I was going to say, I would be happy to chime in. I'm Linda Gregory, the director at Exploratory Studies. And so from an advising perspective, when we meet with students, there are only a handful of engineering disciplines that require students go through FYE. Those are mechanical engineering, biomedical, and interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary. All of the other types, a student can go directly in, but what factors into whether or not they go into FYE or go directly into a discipline really depends on the student and their performance. From an exploratory study standpoint, I want these students to get to engineering as soon as possible. I want them to have the benefits of the College of Engineering, of having expert advisors who do nothing but advise engineering. and to have those connections with student organizations and other students in their major. So we certainly, want students to get to FYE if they can in a semester or two. But if they don't, often, like in Joshua's situation, I mean, if that doesn't happen, there are other disciplines where you don't have to go through FYE, and it just makes more sense to go ahead and stay in exploratory studies for another semester until you've completed a few more courses, because they may require you have 2 semesters before you go into construction engineering. And we're going to work with these students to make sure that they're in the classes they need to meet the requirements. So we talk about both pathways to get to engineering. And it really just comes down to the students' interest and their performance and when they're ready. I would say those are probably the biggest factors.
Yeah, so I'm like Joshua. I also transitioned straight into, or codoed straight into ECE. And I'm going to put in the chat as the link to the requirements for Codo, so you can kind of look at that. That's what I looked at when I met with my advisor and had to decide which way I wanted to Codo in. And so I codoed in straight into computer engineering, and I could only do that when I took all the FYE requirement courses except for engineering 131 and 132, which I took after I had made it into computer engineering. But like Joshua said, it's easy. You look up the requirements that I sent in the chat, and you go to your advisor, and they'll step you through it and make sure that you mark off all the requirements. And then it's as simple as turning in a paper. At this time, I'm sure it's online now with COVID.
I codoed after my first semester in exploratory studies. So as soon as my first semester was over, all I had to do was submit some paperwork to the first year engineering office, and then I codoed in after that first semester. And so I was in College of Engineering and first year engineering in my second semester of freshman year. However, I will say this, that I chose mechanical engineering, and then I switched to computer engineering, and that was also in engineering, and that was kind of like a codo process in itself in my sophomore year first semester. So it just goes to show that like different people take different paths, and in the end of the day, all of us are here as seniors and juniors and kind of like, very successful in our majors and doing pretty great. And so it really doesn't depend kind of how you get there, as long as you kind of take up upon every opportunity along the way.
I think as we think about codoing and talking about getting those good grades and opening doors, do you guys mind sharing a little bit about what resources you used on campus to help you with those math and science courses to get those good grades so that you could get to those majors that you wanted?
For sure. I love resources on campus. Sorry, Jessica, I just saw you. Okay. There are some resources that I think are my absolute favorites, and one of them is SI sessions, and the other one I'll talk about is resource like TA office hours or professor office hours. So SI sessions are essentially sessions that are led by Purdue students. So a student who either the past semester or like a previous year, just very recently, I think maybe in two years or so or lesser, have taken that class and have gotten an A or a really good grade in it. So they come back and essentially lead these problem solving sessions for like students who are currently in the class. So all of these SI sessions are essentially free, and they happen like 2 times to 3 times in a week. And the point of the sessions is to problem solve and collaborate with other students in the class. So it's a great way to essentially meet someone who succeeded in the class and get their advice on how to succeed in that class at the same time, and also meet other students who are in the same section or in the same class that you're in to essentially collaborate on problems or exams and essentially form a study group. And so that's kind of a really good resource on campus that is absolutely free for any student and is like available, and it's like widely marketed for all classes. The other one is like TA office hours. So these are just like students who have, done really well, or even graduate students who are maybe like, in grad level classes and who have taken this class and are also is maybe their research area. And they essentially will hold office hours where you can just ask any question, get any clarification. So all of these resources are great. And I know that every professor, or at least in every class that I'm in right now, one of them has like office hours from 6 to 9:30 Monday to Friday, and that's like for TAs and for teaching assistants, and that's a lot of people there on board to help you like throughout the week. And so regardless of classes being offline or online, I think there's so much help at Purdue for every class that you take.
I would say like for the first classes, like especially the math classes were very difficult for me, and I think like for a lot of other people. So I just felt like it wasn't enough. I wasn't getting enough help just from like the math help room. I needed like more one-on-one help. So the math help center, the math department has a list of tutors, like I think somewhere on their website, and most of them have been like TAs of certain classes. So it'll tell you what they specialize in. So one of my tutors actually was a TA for when I took Calc 2. So she was a TA for Calc 2 maybe a couple semesters before. So she really helped me because she had like a notebook full of like all the quizzes she used to give out and stuff like that. So, or like past exams. So I would say like if you're willing to spend a little bit more, and it's not even that much because they're like, grad students, and they're willing to give you like not a terrible rate because they know that you're just an undergrad student. You might not have that much money. So I would suggest also doing that. I felt like especially I got the best help from students like grad students because they have a better mastery of the field in general. So especially for math classes, I would suggest that. For ME classes, I really like the TAs. Office hours really help me. They have a lot of help sessions for that. So I would do that. But yeah, that's what I did.
Well, I'd like to delve deeper into that. I love that you went that direction, Jessica. And you guys talk about keys to academic success, being successful academically. Of course, you can go into on some other professional things. Of course, you also, to develop yourself, you may want to get an internship. But what do you see? What have been some keys to success for you?
Yeah, so for me, something that I didn't actually utilize until sophomore year because I didn't know about it was the Academic Success Center, which is in one of the residence halls on campus. And they have workshops where they can teach you things like time management skills, better studying skills, and stuff like that. So when I came in as a freshman, I had terrible time management skills because in high school, to be honest, you don't really need time management skills. So when I came into college, I didn't know how to manage my time or how to put stuff in a calendar and keep a to-do list so I wasn't missing assignments. So I went to the Academic Success Center and they had workshops with grad TAs and professionals who were actually like studied in this area, and they were able to help me with what like study tips I could use.
Great, great. Anyone else? What has really
For
helped you to
me,
be successful?
for academic success, using the MEP's free tutoring, they offer it around the clock basically. And it's a lot of times it's just people that that were just good in the class or didn't want to be SI leaders and make that time commitment. And that really helped me a lot. And professionally, just opening my mouth, talking to a lot of times when people say networking, they believe it just means talking to someone higher up than you that can give you an opportunity. You can network with your your fellow students all the time. That's how I actually was introduced to the company that I'm co-oping with right now, was through someone just in class with me, and then just taking that step further and contacting people, emailing people, almost being a pest, because honestly, that's how you're going to get the job. And Purdue's name carries a lot of weight. You may not think I did not understand how much there's a reason it's 40,000 a year to go here. That Purdue's name carries weight in the business world, and that's helped a lot.
I will say this: when I first started at Purdue, I never had or at least in high school, I never had a planner or anything where I would list out all my assignments or anything. All of it was in my head. And I thought that would be the right thing to do in college as well. And my first semester, that proved me wrong. And so I still remember my exploratory studies advisor emailed us saying, oh, you should get this, mortar board, it'll help you plan. And I got it because of our advice. I was like, okay, I trust you, so I'm gonna get it. And to my knowledge, it did really help me. It helped me plan my assignments, make sure I know like when my assignments are due, and then also submit it, and also ensure that I plan for those assignments well ahead. And I think that's really what has made me successful in academics, is the fact that you split up a big chunk of your work into several like subtasks, and you spread it across a week or 2 weeks whenever the assignment's posted, and then getting that done and getting your to-do lists done has really helped me like all these 4 years to be successful at Purdue. And so definitely time management is one of the key helpers in academic success at Purdue.
Yeah, I agree with the time management thing. I think the main thing for me was like a change in mindset. I was like not used to the amount of work that you get here, and then at some point you think it's going to die down, but it never does. So you kind of just have to change your perspective in the way you look at things, and I guess also just find times for yourself. I realize, and find times that you just like, you need to reward yourself for all the hard work you're doing. It doesn't help anybody if you keep going and going. Like sometimes you need to be like, okay, I'm going to take a little break tonight, and then we're going to like start this tomorrow. But yeah, I think time management skills definitely help, but just like, yeah, changing your mindset has really helped for me. Like, I'm already in this, let's continue and finish this. Um, and then I don't know, just doing other things that make me happy just outside of school.
We have a question from the audience, so I want to make sure that we get to it. As a student who started in exploratory studies, if you can reflect back to your time when you were in exploratory studies, were you able to participate in engineering clubs and organizations on campus, activities, industrial roundtable, even if you were still in engineering trying to in exploratory trying to codo into engineering? And maybe if you were involved in a club or organization that was engineering specific while being in exploratory studies, you could share about that experience.
You got it.
Yeah, so I was in actually SEDS, Purdue SEDS, which stands for Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. And usually that's aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering. And as an exploratory studies student, I actually joined that and told them that I was into computer engineering and stuff like that. And so they actually put me on the avionics bay, working with components and stuff. And actually that's how I met a lot of the people in my major, because a lot of the people in the avionics bay part was we were building a rocket is basically what happened. So I was on the avionics part of the rocket, and that's actually how I met a lot of people in computer engineering, was because a lot of them were computer engineers. So yes, you can definitely still get involved in engineering stuff, even if you're in exploratory studies.
I just want to echo that. My freshman year, first semester, I was the program chair for the National Society of Black Engineers. And that is what helped me when I went to Industrial Roundtable. I also got my first internship there with a chemical engineering company, just because I had leadership on my resume already. So just being in exploratory studies doesn't mean you're excluded from engineering clubs or experiences.
I'll even share that as a part of EDPS 105, we have something called exploration activities, which are forced, or that's that forced proactivity where we encourage our students to go out and to seek opportunity. And one of the things that we tell them to do is to go to Industrial Roundtable, even if you are a freshman, because you never know what companies are looking for. And in many cases, they are looking for students who have an open mind and who are open to experiences. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that Joshua got an internship with a chemical engineering company, but now he's in construction engineering management just by putting himself out there. And again, we tell you got to do it as a part of EDPS 105. Maybe we
That's
can
right.
roll this question into a larger conversation about clubs and organizations and how those have aided your Purdue experience as far as like combining the educational opportunities that you're getting, but also those clubs and organizations.
I definitely focus more on like soft skills in my organizations. I really love people and interacting with like, you know, just a group of people and having that collaborative nature in clubs. And so most of my classes were already rigorous in terms of like the math and science. There was a lot of problem solving. So I wanted that kind of soft skills or the personable skills that you can train. And that's where a lot of my clubs were focused on. And so one club that I'm in is Purdue Think, which is a consulting organization. So what we essentially do is we help Purdue orgs in the Purdue orgs or any campus affiliated organizations with helping solve problems like either marketing strategies or essentially strategy problems that they might encounter. And it's been really cool to like be part of that kind of a problem solving group, but at the same time, it's a lot more soft skills. You have to present, you have to research about strategies that you have to take and the problems you might face. So some of the problems we solved were like, what is a good marketing strategy for a career fair that is targeting only targeting certain amount of students who are looking for internships or full-time, but also at the same time, the employers are startups. So how can we go about doing that marketing strategy? So those are really specific problems that we were able to solve. And I think that was really cool in terms of a soft skill kind of gaining and also really translated to helping, you know, talk about what are the other things you did apart from your classes in any professional experience you were looking to take.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same lines. I didn't really do like any type of technical type of club. When I was in exploratory studies, I did fun clubs, basic or not. I don't want to say like the other clubs aren't fun, but like it didn't have really anything to do with like school, I guess. Yeah, so I joined the Johari Dance Troupe. That's part of the Black Cultural Center. So because I really like dancing. And then I also joined the Black Voices of Inspiration, and that's a choir. So we sang. But surprisingly, opportunities did come like through that. I've been able to get, you know, a scholarship through there. And then I've also been able to study abroad. I went on a semester to Cuba through it, and then just other trips in general. And I mainly did it to meet like people and make friends because coming from New Jersey, I didn't know that many people. And I'm like still in the choir today. So it's been like a very big part of my experience. I made like a lot of my friends through there. So yeah, that's how that helped me. And it wasn't until later on I like joined some more professional clubs. So now I'm like on the executive board of the National Society of Black Engineers, and I started to do, you know, other things with the minority engineering program, like more outreach events. But that just came later on once I learned more about the club's you know, yeah, the clubs that the College of Engineering had to offer.
We're wrapping up because our time is running short. But I would ask, what have been the experiences, indeed through exploratory studies, through the College of Engineering? What have been the experiences that have really caused you to grow as a career professional?
Failing,
Go ahead.
falling on my face, and just having this fantastic people around me through MEP, even exploratory studies, to just pick me up and let me know that everything's gonna be okay. Because right now, like I'm sure everybody that's not talking in the chat is coming in like, oh, I have this plan. I'm just gonna go through exploratory studies for just one semester, and I'm gonna go straight to my major. I'm gonna get straight A's. I hope that happens for you. But if it doesn't, it's okay. This is not the end of the world. Your grades don't define who you are. Your GPA doesn't. That's, you know, later on it might for salaries and whatnot, but you will find a path and you will find a way, and everything's gonna be okay.
totally agree with Joshua. Definitely failing can really help put you in the right frame of mind, and also having a good support network. So with the exploratory studies in engineering, computer engineering specifically, just having the support cast around of having like group chats with the fellow computer engineers who we can all share in the like despair of having a bad exam, but we can all pick each other up, and just having also other exploratory ambassadors who know about like or who are experiencing different things. Like exploratory ambassadors are all different walks of life people, so it's really nice to have that support group where I can go in there and complain about my major and also have somebody else complain about their major too. So it's nice to be able to have a good support cast.
I think Jacob and Joshua talked about like the kind of like the network of people. I think Purdue is one of those places where we kind of lift all of us together. Like any class, anything I'm taking, like there's always someone who's willing to chip in and help, and be it a lab, be it like, you know, something that I'm struggling with. And I've never ever had someone turn me down if I asked for help. And I think that speaks to the spirit of Purdue and kind of like Purdue in general. And I think that's pretty amazing. So the people are, I think, the one that you have to really cherish at Purdue.
Yeah, I agree with the failing thing for sure. It's definitely traumatizing at first, but you kind of get used to it after a while. And then for me, I think it's like what's helped me grow was networking, I guess, kind of like through the clubs I've joined, and especially being a part of like NESB. I think I've learned the most that I can apply to an actual job, just having to work in teams with other people to have to like, you know, put on events or like do certain projects and things like that. So I think that has been the most applicable thing. Surprisingly, like not really my schoolwork, more like me having to work in teams and do and like just be a leader.
Well, our time is up. We want to thank everyone for coming. We do have just a couple of closing announcements that we would like to share with you. But we are just so glad that you could come and be with us today. Um, we're going to just say, on tomorrow and Thursday, if you're interested in getting help with your essay, we've got folks from Purdue's well-renowned writing lab. And so if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat, dwilliams@purdue.edu. On Monday, we're going to be talking about scholarships and financial aid. One session will be scholarships, and there'll be a breakout session for those who need help with completing their FAFSA. Then we're going to have 3 virtual tours of residence halls, not only just being able to get on the website, but students are going to tour you through their own rooms. And then the last 3 days, just before November 1, because what is November 1? It is the last day to be considered for merit scholarship opportunities. So we want to make sure, and that means your transcript is in, and whatever you need, we're going to have some students here on hand from 3 to 6 p.m. on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. We're going to depart right now. If anyone wants to stay back and you have any questions, we here, again, my email address is dwilliams@purdue.edu. Can we give a hand our wonderful guest today, Kyle, and all the fine upperclassmen who made it through exploratory studies, now in their major, and their hope is very bright. Thank you, guys. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, participants, and we'll see you soon. Have a good night, and stick over if you have some questions. Okay, got questions, go right ahead. The floor is yours. Karina, do you have any questions? You know, I know you. Daniel, Olivia, they were in our MITE camp this past summer.
Actually, I do have a question. I just thought of it. Could you guys possibly talk about what your your guys' schedule looks like. Like, do you have any free time? How do you manage that? Something like that.
I want to say a really bad joke and say we have no free time, but that would be wrong. um, we do have free time, and I will say that it really depends. So every semester you have different classes, and I will say the first 2 weeks are very kind of like, you know, there and here. You're trying to figure out what assignments are due when is like certain clubs meeting, when do you have office hours and things like that. But once you have everything kind of set in place, you kind of make time for when you have to finish your assignments, when you're meeting your friends. And typically how it works is it's really up to you in the end of the day. So assignments are due at 11:59 or sometimes 10 o'clock at night. And it's up to you to kind of spread it out in 2 weeks and figure out how you want to complete it. Office hours are in different times, like they have 5 to 8 office hours sometimes, or 12 to 2. So ultimately it's kind of up to you to match how you want your schedule to look like. So I will say this, like in a typical day, I wake up like at say 7:37, I'm an early bird, and then I go to bed at 10:30, 11. So that's kind of how my day goes. And then lunch, dinner, breakfast, all same times, kind of normal. And then I try to meet with friends in the evening, office hours sometimes in the evening, and every day is kind of different depending on what commitments I have and who I'm meeting and things like that. So truly it's up to you. I think that's the magic of college, is everything is like kind of like up to you when you want to put it, when you want to place it, and how you want to get everything done.
I would agree with that. I think a lot of your free time is what you make of it. If you want to spend your time just playing video games, do that, you know, do whatever you want. But at least for me, my schedule looks like right now, at least with COVID and having online classes, all my classes are online actually, and they're asynchronous, meaning I can watch the lecture videos whenever I want. So it's been kind of challenging with this new format for this semester, trying to figure out how to schedule it best. But during a normal semester, I would say usually my classes start around like 9:30 and then end depending on you know, when times are available, depending usually like 3:30. So it's really, I don't know, it's what you make of it. Like Yamana said, it's a lot of, if you want free time, you can definitely find free time for that. You just gotta be better at planning if you want a lot of free time.
Great, great.
I agree with that too. You can have like literally a whole bunch of free time or like no free time. I think it really depends on how much classes you're taking or what clubs you've joined. It really could just be a lot of things. Or I don't know, if you spend time doing your homework or if you don't, it's kind of like up to you at the end of the day, but you can always make some time.
If you plan it out
Great.
well, you'll have free time. If you don't plan too well, then you will not have a lot of free time. You'll be very tired.
Very good point. Daniel, any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. I want to say to you guys, you were really good. Kyle, thank you so much. Linda, all your help. And students, oh my goodness, you were great. You were
You're all
awesome.
awesome. You're all
You
awesome.
were awesome. Thank you so much. So you never know, if you come by sometime, I might take you to lunch or something. We can do a social distancing thing. Jacob, I know I don't know you. Yamuna, is that correct?
Yep, Yamuna. Yeah.
Yamuna. Show me any one of the four of you. Just let me know. Oh, but have a good night. I don't want to keep you guys all night long.
Yeah.
You guys
Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.